This is not about a gay right. There's a difference between civil rights and sacred rights.
Same-sex marriage is going to be put to vote here in Maryland.
No same-sex marriage in the state of Maryland.
Honk your horn if you believe.
Many people in the state's religious community, especially in African American churches, oppose gay marriage and are vowing to continue their fight against it.
Thousands of Marylanders around the state want to see marriage defined and upheld between one man and one woman.
One of the biggest donors is pushing a strategy to drive a wedge between gays and African Americans.
All of a sudden, it was black versus gay.
I wasn't really aware of that because like a couple years back I was very like ignorant of the gay community. I kind of like I didn't really like give it a chance to kind of like educate myself on it because like in my household kind of don't like talk about that. And I guess when I got to like Mason and I met a lot more people, I have a lot of female gay friends, so like I'm really comfortable with it now. So like I'm not as ignorant.
Well, just from the trailer, I actually would be interested in seeing the whole thing because I'm just kind of interested in seeing specifically why we think it's such a big issue amongst African Americans. There's people who don't believe in it amongst other racial groups. Like why, I feel like the magnitude of the way they're making it seem is like it's now another issue for African Americans and we are no longer free because of this thing when I'm sure it's like that for all racial groups.
Like, I think that as far as the whole not comparing it to slavery or like to civil rights, like you're right, you can't compare it to the magnitude that slavery impacted, you know, the United States or anybody living here for so long because it was like blatantly out there. Like there were laws against it, like blatantly out there in your face, separation, segregation, all that. But when you think about what people in the LGBT community have gone through, they've been ostracized and segregated, and it's been brought to light more because of civil rights movements and women's rights movements, and the world is being more liberal now. You know what the struggle is, and you know how it feels to be outcast from society. You know how it feels to be called names. Why would you do that to another person? So it's like, why would you know how it feels, you know, like being called the N-word or whatever it is, not being able to apply for a job because of, you know, the color of your skin. So why would you deny the same person those rights that you were fighting for your whole life?
No one should be, you know, called out of their name for the color of their skin, and nobody should be called out of their name for who they choose to love. Like that, neither one of those things are right, but like you don't have to compare them either. Like the comparison doesn't fix the problem or solve it. I just feel like the comparison is unnecessary.
I feel like they're similar, but at the same time you can't compare the two because we're still having issues for civil rights within our own community. You know, like we have little black boys getting killed for no reason. I'm not saying that the gay community, the LGBTQ community aren't without their struggles, but I feel like you can't compare the two. And to have parents who went through the civil rights and were called niggers and, you know, went to school right in that transition where things were getting integrated, I feel like you can't compare the two because we are still having issues with that today. So, but that's not to say that the LGBTQ doesn't have their own struggles and they don't have their own issues.
Earlier she said something about like, you know, people being able to like love whoever you want to love, and like it doesn't have, you know, a shade or a face or anything.
I think the older generation had nothing to learn from but like the church way lifestyle, whereas like our generation, we have the internet. Like if we have questions, we just go to Google and we find it. We have so many different sources to answer our questions, whereas they only have one way of doing things, and I think the purpose of a family is to leave like a legacy, so they want to like lead that legacy on, and like for our generation to kind of like headbutt with that, I think that's what's kind of clashing against like the black community.
Like I think Mason is very good as far as, you know, the community overall, and, you know, having events where it raises awareness to LGBTQ issues. I think the Black community has a little more work to do because we don't really talk about it too much. I think one thing that's very amazing is that Jordan Foster, our student government president, is out. He's Black and he's gay. So
I feel like you're entitled to an opinion, but as far as like speaking on or acting on a situation is where college students can really, make a change. Like, you're entitled to your opinion, but you never know who you can offend by what you say or how you act.
I think people kind of fear that if I collaborate with the LGBT community or with the Pride office, that people are going to think like, oh, I'm not going to go to that event. Like, why are they doing with them? Like, and they'll, have something to say.
Until we have like a larger group of people to stop being so narrow-minded and like just change things.
Yeah.
I just think that's just what's going to happen.
20 years from now, this is going to be like, not like irrelevant, but there's going to be families that have 2 dads or 2 moms.
Well,
And
they are
people-
now.
Yeah, but like, I know that, but I'm saying like, it's
That'll be
not
more
going to be,
norm.
it's going to be more norm. It's not going to be so like taboo, like, oh my God, 2 dads. Like,
Here's hoping, right?
yeah.